Just one thing I want to say. Fighting game is something so great. Thank you so much.
Fish tank in the background if you hear the water running.
Oh, that's all right. That's so good, man. Yeah, welcome everyone back to the SoulCalibur FGC podcast, and I have a lovely guest with me, music artist remixer Rukunetsu, or AKA Ruku, or other nicknames you've got. How you doing, bro?
Pretty good today. Pretty good. I'm happy to be on the show.
Oh, sweet, man. Yeah. So just give us a brief rundown about yourself.
Okay. Well, I've been doing the music thing for roughly, I'd say, 10, 11, maybe 12 years now, and I've been into fighting games into some capacity for about that time. Although I never got very good at them, I would get interested and try them out, and just go from there. But between the fighting games, anime, and various other influences, I got into remixing. Because I had a touch of music experience, so I got into doing remixes.
Mm.
And as time went on, I invested more in the craft. I learned more, applied more, and I got to the point where, granted, I still have a lot to learn, especially from a theory and more compositional standpoint. But at the same time, there are those who enjoy what I do, and I'm grateful for that. And so, yeah, that's what's kept me going for the last few years now.
Mm.
So yeah,
you've been doing that. I mean, your presence is, you've been around for quite a while. Like, I used to watch a lot of your early stuff on YouTube. Actually, one of my friends, one of the SoulCalibur guys, referred me to your stuff.
okay.
And there's not a lot of guys or people that kind of do what you do with your level of, how should I say, style.
Oh, thank you.
No, it's just and you've mentioned you've had training, like you used to do classical training, like piano training and stuff.
Yes, when I was in grade, I'd say like 3, 4, 5, around that time, I started to get into piano. I do little organ playing at the church and stuff like that.
Right.
But as time went on, I let's just say I went rogue, and I figured, hey, I got enough training. I could do it on my own now. I don't need any more training.
Yeah.
And so, unfortunately, while I playing by ear got me so far, I'll admit.
Yeah.
But I ultimately I still needed more theory, of course, but I never followed through on it. And so, yeah, moving forward, I do have some degree of training, if you will, not really classical, just piano training.
Yeah.
And so that got me to where I am in terms of knowing certain chords and certain melodies, and things like that. Just general air for music, but yeah.
And you're from the Bahamas.
Oh, I'm from yeah,
Yeah.
from the Bahamas.
Quite an interesting place. The character that I play in my chosen fighting game, there's a part in the series where he takes he goes for the quiet life in the Bahamas. So is that kind of, yeah? What is the Bahamas like? How would you describe
Well,
it?
if we want to get technical, it's a chain of like 700 islands and keys, so they say. But I live on one of the main islands. I live in Grand Bahama. That's the northernmost island
Ah, yeah.
in the country. And overall, yes, it's pretty chill. It's a mix of old world thinking and new world styling, if you will. So you have your restaurants, you have your various franchises and stuff. If you're craving for that stuff. But yeah, you have the no girls on the beach and parasailing.
Yeah. Like, I just,
You have that.
yeah, no, it looks like such a beautiful place. Would you consider it a holiday spot? Like, would it kind of match Hawaii or say Bali?
Yeah, given that most of those destinations share the same what do you call it? I'd say geographical placement, in that you have a beach as the primary focus. You have the ocean rather as the primary focus. It makes for a great spot, especially when you go to certain hotels and certain, I don't want to call them tourist traps, but hey.
Oh yeah, yeah, of course, yeah.
But when you get to those spots, you get to enjoy a certain part, that's been developed for that experience. But some people like to venture away from those areas and go inland and see other sites. And you can do that too if you want.
Yeah. Well,
But yeah, it makes for a great spot.
did you ever like growing up there? Did you ever think about like branching out and kind of ever? Did you ever consider leaving the safe net of the Bahamas and exploring the world?
As a matter of fact, I did, and I still do to this day. Honestly, uh, even though the recent COVID whatnot has kind of changed the way people think about traveling and whatnot. I still would like for me and my wife, if possible, to, if not, venture out into a new country, at least travel a bit more moving forward. Because being here is great. I love my hometown. I love my island. But just the other day, you're just looking out the window and looking at the sky and thinking, hey, it'll be really nice to just travel again, visit somewhere in Europe again, you know, things like that.
Yeah.
But it would be nice to venture out. I agree with you there. It would be good to venture out.
Yeah. No, just because like it does seem like a lovely place, but obviously if you come from a small area, you always dream of, what's out there. If you've ever thought about just jumping the fence, seeing what's
Yeah.
abroad.
Exactly. And that's why the first time I got to cross the pond and go to Europe, right? That was back in 2005, 2006, I believe. I ended up in Cologne, Germany. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly. And it was very nice. It was a life altering experience to see that there's a world out there. Beyond seeing it on TV and seeing it on your laptop. It was like, this is amazing, and I want to do it again.
Do you know if there's much gaming or creative culture in your neck of the woods, the Bahamas?
As I would say, in the last 4 to 5 years, the FGC, I'd say, has started to really come into its own, and the creative niche that was sort of hidden away is now starting to blossom. So, in a nutshell, without me talking too much, yes, it is actually starting to grow. I'm starting to see way more people, invested in artwork. Like we even have you call it a famous, let's say famous, well-known Bahamian artist. Her name, she goes by the name uh, Star Exorcist. If I have to reference another Bahamian artist,
Yeah.
and she's made quite a name for herself doing artwork for individuals such as what's his name? Ego Raptor and his crew. I can't remember. Gaming Grumps.
Oh, Game
She's done
Grumps.
some, yeah,
Wow.
for Game Grumps. Yeah, she's done some work for Matt McMuscles and his series, and so just to name one artist that comes to mind, but you have many Bahamian artists really up and coming, and it's good to see, especially given what I had to go through when I was into it, and no one was really paying it any mind. But as time went on, people acknowledge there's a place for this kind of creative expression, if you will. And it's good to see it now finally taking off and people take it a bit more seriously.
I think,
So, yeah.
like, you can imagine America where they have a lot of internet personalities, YouTube celebs, Twitch streamers. Do you have any upcoming, like, streamers or kind of personalities in the Bahamas?
I think, at least internet-wise, I'd be remiss to say that I know of any up and coming right now, but I can tell you more than likely that yes, we probably have quite a few. Given that it's so easy to do it now, it's easy just to get your laptop, plug your mic in, and start streaming. So I'd like to believe we have a few Bahamian up and comings right now. But I'm glad you bring that up because now I have to actually look it up. I need to do some research.
I was also curious about like other hobbies or interests that kind of that take you. And you mentioned you had you're a bit of a car enthusiast. So
Yeah.
if I was to imagine we're going to have a bit of a drag race, I'd probably rock up with with an Altezza, and you would show up with the Nissan GT-R R35. What is it about this car that you find so special?
The R35, it is a car that just interests me because I was interested in one of the previous models, the R32. And as time went on, I loved it, thought it was awesome. I still think it's awesome. But, when I can't remember which model it was, I think it's the R33. It was a long while in between the GTR I told you about and the previous one. So when the new one came out, I saw it. The R35 came out, and I was like, holy smoke. This car is beautiful. And as time has gone on, they've only refined it and made it an even, to me, even more awesome vehicle. Of course, it has its issues, as any car does, honestly. But I just think it's a really nice vehicle for what it's worth.
What would be your choice of color then for the vehicle?
Admittedly, in the same clip you have playing right now, that same gray,
Oh, really?
that would be it right there.
Okay,
Yes.
nice.
It's like a gunmetal kind of color.
I mean, I'll be honest. I'm not a car guy. If anyone asked me what my car was, I would just, like, what would be my dream boy racer car? I'd probably just say Skyline or a Supra, because everyone watches those Fast and Furious movies. Yeah.
Another thing wrong with that, trust me, because trust me, I say enthusiast, but I'm not. I mean, when you hear the extent of the knowledge of people who go by the name car enthusiast, I am not close to that. I have a like for vehicles. I find them quite interesting. Various models, various stuff like that. But to call myself like a real hardened car enthusiast, under the hood doing that kind of stuff, I still have a ways to go. I'm interested in getting to that point with the vehicles and whatnot, but right now I'm just standing by the showcase looking inwards, like, wow, that's me.
Yeah. Do you guys have any like any car expos or any kind of expos that happen out your
It's
ways?
funny you mentioned that. Yeah, we before what was it? There's two things that kind of put a damper on that. A, Hurricane Dorian, not to bring down the mood, and B, uh, COVID. But prior to those two events, we had a lot more, minor car shows were starting up because, people had their new trucks they were bringing on the islands, new trucks, new cars, things like that. And so I remember one day on one of our more prominent fields that we have on the island, I saw a big bunch of cars gathered up, and I was like, "Whoa, what's going on here?" And so it was like I'd say a budget car show, if you will. Like
Budget car
the
show.
first show there. But it was a car show nonetheless. People were out there having a good time, looking at each other's vehicles. And it was nice. I was like, okay, we started something different. And so, yeah.
And I've got another thing that you like. It's something peculiar, so I just wanted to find a way of, I guess, just correctly presenting it.
Sure.
Is your fascination or your interest in firearms.
Yeah.
So that's anything from like pistols to assault rifles,
Yes.
any automatic weapons, eh?
Yes, pistols, rifles, those things. I'm not sure when it actually started, but at some juncture in my life, I looked at the Beretta Firearm 92 FS, and I was like, yeah, I like these. And as time went on, I just, delved more and more into it. Different kinds of rounds, and different, characteristics of the various firearms. The Glocks and the, Smith and Wessons, revolvers, automatic, semi-automatic, all that type of stuff. And it's just something that in my, passing fascination, I just tend to check it out and say, that's pretty good. CZ, those type of arms. I just find them pretty nice. But go ahead.
No, just yeah. So from people who have actually practiced shooting guns and stuff, they say it's such an exhilarating, releasing feel. Like when you go to a shooting range and stuff. Would you ever want to try actually shooting a weapon at a gun range?
Yes, but of course, that's actually something I'm planning to do in the coming years when my wife and I get to travel again. We'd like to, just take a trip right to some state outside of Florida because we always go to Florida. It's a running joke that Bahamians only know one state.
Wow,
Florida.
Florida.
Florida and Atlanta maybe. But yeah, we would like to go, just head to the states. We don't have gun ranges here. The only thing that constitutes a gun range on our island is you drive out way out east somewhere. You pick a dirt road and you start shooting at the trees.
Man,
That's the gun range.
getting real dirty in the wop-wops, man.
Yeah, you got it.
God.
So, beyond that, yeah. Well, most of the times, in this country, you're only allowed to actually own a shotgun. And even by that, you have to make sure you have your safe. Yeah, you have to have your license. You have to pay various fees and whatnot.
Yeah.
But in terms of carrying a actual pistol or carrying a smaller sidearm, yeah, that doesn't fly. Could you give me one moment? I actually gotta go get my power cord.
Yeah, bro, no worries. No, you're all good. No, you're all good.
Be
Man.
right back. All right, good to go.
No, you're good, man. So if it's okay, I'll just bring it back to your music and
Sure.
your journey on YouTube, because you had been making stuff for quite a long time. What was it like remixing in the early days of YouTube, before kind of content creation was quite common?
I was saying, early on, if I must reminisce like an old man right now, back in, I'd say 04, 05, at one point, I only posted my artwork to DeviantArt. And at some point, I started dabbling into music because it was brought to my attention that, hey, you can make music on your laptop. So I looked into the software, I looked into the hardware and all that stuff, and I started. So, boom, fast forward. I started posting my own little original beats that I'd make. And I just, it was a shot in the dark. I just said, whatever. Surprise, people started noticing the little original stuff. But it wasn't nothing it wasn't explosive. It wasn't like, yeah, whatever. And then an artist by the name of Negrosaki, I gotta mention him because he helped propel me into doing remixes. He did a remix of Final Fantasy X's, and I always forget the blasted song.
I think I know which one. I think that's the that's the first song
I
I
think
actually
you know which
ran
one.
of him into as well. Yeah.
Good. So that right there, that song, I heard it and it was like a mind blow. I see. So that's when I discovered sampling. You could take little bits of songs and you can manipulate it, add your chords, add your melodies, and just kind of make it your own without just ripping the whole song.
Mm.
And so I sampled I think the first song I ever. It was between the Windows 95 theme and a song from Kirby, if I remember. Anyway, I remixed the Kirby song, posted it, and bam, it's like slowly but surely I'm noticing the views starting to uptick. And then I sampled some Final Fantasy 13 music, and then I noticed that started to catch on. And so I say, so I said to myself, okay, I think I see a market for what I'm doing. But within that time frame, like you said, before content creation was a thing, before content creation was really a thing, you had a group of people who, YouTube was a wild lands, basically, Wild West, if you will. So everyone from podcasts to remixes to just vlogs, you just did. And there was a little corner of YouTube that I discovered did remixes. It was Universal Video Game
Musicians, yeah.
And you got it. And at the time, me being just a newbie, I saw this group and I was like, man, I really want to get into this group. So it started being a goal of mine to become a part of UVG. And eventually that happened, which I'm always grateful to Boris and the group for getting me that additional exposure when YouTube was just really starting to bring in the masses, if you will. And I guess honestly from that point, the rest is history. I just kept posting. I got a few big collaborations, Maximilian, a couple other channels ended up using one or two of my songs, and that really brought in some subscribers. And yeah, just watched it grow to this point, and here we are on the cusp of, I think, 14,000 subs. I think, if I can't remember.
Yeah, man, it's a great accomplishment.
Thank you so much, man. I'm just taking it one song at a time.
So like with that happening, when iTunes and Spotify and all these other audio platforms started to pop up, how did you change, and how did your approach change in terms of the landscape?
When when you said when these different, when these different platforms these different platforms and stuff started popping up. While sampling is a bit tricky, you try to now move into the realm of doing covers and stuff instead of just straight up sampling, because you can get in a little trouble.
Yeah.
When you start posting work sample work without proper permission. Now, even though there's a little gray area there, I think it's a certain amount you're allowed to do before it becomes an issue. But I just try to mix more of doing covers along with the sampling, and then I just pick and choose what songs to upload so as to not get in any major issues. But thankfully, even though you have more people streaming music and whatnot, as opposed to pulling it up on YouTube, there's still a market for those who are using YouTube to listen to tunes. And then I was able to find a way to get music, thankfully, on the various streaming platforms via. Am I allowed to call company names?
Bro, go ahead, dude. Go ahead.
All right. Via DistroKid, I started uploading things to the various platforms via DistroKid. And so now, thankfully, you can find the vast majority of my music on Spotify and various other places. Not every tune, of course, but the ones that that don't trigger basically the whole sample alarm, if you would. You would find those on the different platforms. So thankfully, it worked out surprisingly well, because I thought at some juncture I may have to just stop because no one's really pulling up videos on YouTube anymore.
Yeah. Well, going on what you just said, YouTube, there's SoundCloud as well. Like if a new person wanted to start remixing today, would you say there's a big difference if you start on SoundCloud nowadays compared to, say, YouTube?
Nowadays, with SoundCloud being as, I'd say it's very saturated, no matter how you cut it. Back then, it was, once again, Wild West, tumbleweeds rolling around.
Yeah.
So, anything was fair game. You had people uploading, God knows what. But now, with SoundCloud being a more professional business type of situation, you're free to upload to all these places. Don't get me wrong, right? But it's just that because there's so many people uploading to these places now, right? Especially places such as SoundCloud and Hear This and those other sites. I would say upload with the mindset that you're here to just share what you enjoy doing at the end of the day. You may not see the follow count skyrocket, you may not see the view count skyrocket, but you have to stay focused on the fact that this is something you enjoy doing and something you enjoy sharing. Because if you only hold fast to statistics and seeing that number go up, you're gonna be discouraged real quick.
Yeah.
Because the explosive growth that one would have experienced back then, at least in my opinion, right? It'll be a little tougher to get it right now unless you get that one sort of beat that resonates and spreads around and whatnot. But yeah, don't focus so much on those figures. Just ultimately share what you enjoy, regardless of the platform you use. And more than likely, hard work tends to get noticed, no matter how many people may be there.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What other projects or who else do you know that's used your music?
Let's see. Beyond you guys, thanks again, by the way, for using the tunes.
Of course.
Yourselves, various FGC, known or unknown groups have used the tunes because ultimately my mentality is you're free to use it once credit is given.
Yeah.
So I've heard made stuff pop up even in places where I'll admit I didn't explicitly say, "Hey, go ahead," but the good thing is at least they respected it enough to say, "Hey, this intro or this song was done by Project Rukunetsu or whatever. So check them out when you can." And just that alone was like, okay, that's fine. And I think that's what thankfully has allowed the music to get to a lot more people as opposed to saying, hey, you're gonna have to pay me like $200 to use that song.
Oh, no,
And
yeah.
so you know, either that or people would just straight up rip the song anyway and use it.
Yeah.
And then what are you gonna do about it? So as time went on, I just was like, you know what? To avoid all that drama, if it's something I explicitly don't want used, then I just don't upload it. Simple as that.
Yeah.
That's the only way you could do it. If you're gonna put something on the internet, there's a 99.999% chance someone's gonna use it for something
Yeah.
or whatever. So you can't be unreasonable when you're dealing with the internet. So if you don't want someone to use something, just don't post it. But sorry, I digress.
No, that's all right.
You have who is it? Max used some stuff. It's I can't lie. It's a lot of different over the years. A lot of different groups, a lot of different individuals who've podcasts and stuff, especially who are like, "Hey man, we like your music. Can we use it?" And I'm like, "Okay, no problem." But no big deal. Once you don't claim it as your own, so that's it.
Yeah, no, that's cool, man. It must be very gratifying, not for validation, but just more so that they do actually want to use it and they're
Yes,
genuinely reaching
exactly.
out.
Because
Yeah,
it surprises me. Because I will admit to you, I could tell you right now, over the years, I have reached out to individuals who I see, hey, maybe they could find a place to use a mix or whatever. So I would just simply shoot an email and say, hey, if ever you would like to use one of the remixes or whatever, you're free to use it, and that's it. I don't try to be a pest and just say, hey, do you see my songs? Do you want to use my songs?
yeah, I get you,
Because
man.
that would be fair.
Nah, you're too cool for that, man.
So,
Well, I don't want to dob anyone, but have you ever listened to a remix and it has definitely not been a remix, as you've said, it's just been completely ripped?
yes, unfortunately, yes.
Is it quite common?
Uh,
Is it quite common? Because I would think it's quite easy to stamp out, or
it is. But in terms of it being common, how can I put it? It's it's common in the sense that you have a lot of people who, they how can I put it? They listen to a song. They listen to a song, and I guess I'm probably dabbling in the realm of covers here, but they listen to it and they do it verbatim. They take the song and they don't really, like you said, they don't remix it per se. They just literally copy it, verbatim,
yeah,
and it's like, that's, I guess, not to be like sound like some elitist or whatever, but then you have individuals who, I guess this is my little pet peeve that let's say they sample a bit of a song, right?
yeah,
And they proceed to either put either like the most you can hear that unfortunately not very much, and this is subjective, so don't quote me on this. Not very much effort was put into it, but
okay, yeah.
here it is. Every hour on the hour, they're putting out a new song, and I'm like, how?
How's that possible?
Like,
Where do you have the time? Where do you find the time, the energy? Yeah,
like here it is. Every day, every other day, I'm seeing a new song. I'm saying, okay, well, hey.
like,
I guess it's because I'm older now.
well, hey,
And
for some people, an hour is coming up with the beat, so it's like, how do you explain that?
exactly. It's like it blows my mind, and I just chalk it up to creative, I guess, energy. If you can push out that many songs in that amount of time, fair enough. I think when was it? My peak, I guess, in terms of output was like 2012, 2013. I look back and it was like 40 songs in one year, and I was like, holy sweet.
You're like, oh, yeah, I'm on a hot like producing period right now.
Exactly. And then, as the years went on, I slowed down, and now I'm to a point where I'm trying to actually be more reasonable with my inputs, because now I'm getting back into artwork a lot. I'm getting back into trying to spread my energy, if you will, between doing music, doing art, and then other miscellaneous stuff. Trying to learn
Yeah,
a bit of video editing and stuff. But as a, I guess, not disclaimer at this point, but I don't see, what I said earlier was not to slant any others in their creative processes. But admittedly, I have heard a few. To go back to the question, I've heard a few remixes that have been somewhat questionable, if you will.
yeah.
So yeah.
No, that's fair, dude. That's fair. So like, I want to post something to you because something that's something I've been seeing quite a lot just in mainstream music is like DJs who do like live scratchings or live, you know.
Mhm.
Would you ever want to explore your presence on Twitch more? Possibly even doing like a live mixing, but still have that anonymity, doing it behind like a screen, but we can see your
Yeah, like,
silhouette kind of thing. Would has any thoughts like that ever crossed your mind?
it's funny you mentioned that, because I was approached with that idea before by a viewer. They were like, "Hey, have you considered doing any DJ work? Like, having your songs played, just as what you described, right? Have you, yeah, basically what you described."
Yeah,
And I, for what it's worth, I could see it sort of happen in the future, because where I'm live streaming, my little gameplay and whatnot, I'm looking into now possibly live streaming uh, the actual music process. The process I take to make the beats and
that would
whatnot.
be yeah,
And
that'd
then
be
I'm
awesome,
thinking,
bro.
exactly, right? And I thinking, moving forward, I may look into exactly what you described. Sort of live sort of DJ playthrough with a different
Yeah,
song.
but still kind of having like a Daft Punk kind of vibe. Like you can't see
Yeah, yeah,
any
of course. Yeah,
characteristics of a
I
human person.
personally,
Yeah,
like, if for me you to meet right now, I'd rather you and me, if it allows, to meet in person, right? Because I was never one to really share my face online, or share my, because I thought, even now I think that's part of the whole, that anonymous thing.
that's part of
Right?
the
You
appeal.
hear my
Yeah,
voice.
it's the staying
Yeah,
power. It
yeah.
keeps it keeps people coming back. It's like we love this music, but who the fuck is this guy? We don't know what he looks
Yeah,
like.
who is
Yeah,
this dude? Because the few people who have seen me, it's either because I think more people saw me uh, when I got married, and of course, people are gonna post photos online. You can't stop that.
yeah.
So I think that was the one point where more people saw my face than and even then, now that's like lost in the annals of history. So what's this guy look like again? It's like, yeah, just look at the avatar.
Exactly.
It's
No, I'm really surprised that you've been thinking about that. I don't know.
but that's a
I
great
was just
idea.
watching my cousins watch this like live DJ music
Hmm.
type thing, and I thought you could kind of do that with any like with
Yeah,
any kind
yeah,
of
you're right.
with any kind of person into music. Um,
Yes.
and I was like, that would be quite. That'd be what kind of equipment are you rocking right now, man?
Right now, I am rocking an Arturia MIDI keyboard. Let me get the exact model for you. But right now, it's an Arturia MIDI keyboard. It's 25 keys, I believe. I just got that recently. And I the reason I got that is because I had a 49 key. Uh, what is it? Is it a Nexus? I can't remember the name of my stuff. Sorry, Nectar. There it is. Nectar MIDI keyboard. Getting old. And what else? So I have those two keyboards. I have some one audio headphones. They cost me like $30 on Amazon, but the sound fidelity is surprisingly good. Like, it's really. And in terms of my laptop, I'm using an HP EliteBook 8560W. It's a bit old in terms of its video card and process and whatnot, but it's getting the job done. It's really getting the job done pretty well right now. But programs, I'm using Ableton Live and occasionally FL Studio for some little
Yeah,
touch up work here and there.
sweet.
But yeah, those are my main tools, at least for music creation, right there.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned this in a previous interview, and the interviewer was saying, like he loves the work that you do. You kind of revamp the original soundtrack, and I won't take you through that kind of typical question, which you probably get so many times. But in terms of other remixes you've heard, has there been one that you've heard that's made you go, "Oh, fuck yeah, I vibe this"?
Ooh, which one is the question? Good lord. Because as the years go by, I don't say this to belittle myself, right? But remember that story I told you about my training earlier and how I kind of skipped out?
Yeah,
Yeah. So now you have these dudes doing straight up orchestral arrangements and whatnot of various, Final Fantasy. So like Alex Mioka, I think his name is.
yeah,
Uh, incredible composer, right? And now he's doing his remixes. You have guys like Little V, this guitarist on YouTube, and he does some amazing rock covers. He even sings and whatnot. And you listen to, and there's so many others, but you listen to individuals like them, right? And you just like I go back and listen to what I'm doing. I'm like, geez, Louise,
like
like I have so much room to really expand, right? But at the end of the day, I look at what I'm doing and I see, little by little, I'm just trying to improve my craft. But I can't sit here and just compare myself to the point where I'm discouraged, right? You want to be encouraged when you see work that's better than yours, and that's gonna be all the time. Trust me.
yeah,
But you can't, I can't. I try not to sit there because I can only speak for myself. Honestly, I can't sit there and belittle myself to the point where I say, what's the point of making music when you have these guys on the platform? No, you can't do that.
mm,
So you're absolutely right. There have been many, many times I've scrolled right through my subscription feed and my timeline on YouTube, and I hear the songs, and I'm like, gee, you got friggin' kidding me.
well, here's a question for you, man. When you're working on a particular song, when you're remixing, how many times after you've listened to a song do you realize like you hear the song but you're
Yeah,
just not hearing it? Like when do you just zone out? How many times do you have to listen to your song in the works until you've just kind of like completely zoned out?
hundreds sometimes, because when you're making it, you turn the song on and off hundreds of times, right? Hundreds. So when you actually finish, when you're actually done with it, like for me, when I'm done with a song and I post it, I let it play in my car from when I leave my apartment to when I get to work. And then sometimes during the day, I just let it play. I just listen to it. I listen to it and I say, okay, yeah, you could have probably turned the bass down here, or you could have probably added a little segment here, or But by the time that day is done, I'm pretty much on to the next project. Like I'm done with that.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that was fun, but now I want to make something else now, and that's how it's been with me. Right? You have others, and I don't say this to slant them, but you have others that would stay. They would stay on a project for months. They would stay on a song, a single song. So I'm talking months, if not a year. Right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, all power to you. I'm sure it's gonna be great when you finish.
Yeah. You're like,
Right?
you do you, bro. It's just like a year on a single song.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And I think that might be, of course, part of why I have my own shortcomings as a composer. I'm very well aware of that. But at the same time, I just have too much fun doing this to just sit there for like months sometimes. Like I told you, months to a year, just like, man, I could fix that. I could turn the velocity down a bit on that one note. I'm like, dude, come on, man. Like, put this on.
Yeah. Hey, in that previous interview, when you were talking about how you're making your work, you said it was an unlimited source of creative energy. Your view on your work. Does that statement
yes.
does that statement still stand, or has there been changes since then?
Believe it or not, it still stands. It still stands because the more I do it, the more I feel as though it's time for me to stop. I look around, I see like up and coming generations of composers, I'm sitting there like the old man on the front porch. I'm like, oh man, these kids are something else. But the more I do this, the more I realize it's it's unlimited, dude. Like I don't mean to sound like some guru or whatever, but you realize sometimes we cap our own creativity under the pretense of it's quote unquote time to stop. Now, if you feel within yourself that you're not having fun anymore, you're not really, progressing, if you will, in terms of your creative spectrum, you just, you're stagnant, then stop.
Yeah.
Just simply stop. Take a break or stop altogether and pursue another interest, But yeah, that creative energy, it's never shut down. It's always there to pull from. You just have to pretty much tap into it, I feel.
Mm.
So, yeah.
Well, you did. Sorry, you did mention a while back as well. Like you're an artist because not only do you make the tracks, but like if you post them on YouTube, you make like a little art picture for them as well.
Yeah, I try to do a little
Yeah,
picture for
I'd
it.
say that's kind of your signature about the remix because it's not just the actual audio; it's everything else. And you mentioned
Okay.
that you take a bit of inspiration from Junny, the girl the person who's done like the girl and the guy palette arts for Tekken
Yeah,
7 and
yeah, yeah.
stuff.
Yes, 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 yes. And you know, it's crazy. It's crazy. Johnny's work. When I first saw it, I was like, "What the hell is this?" Right? And I started going through it, and beyond Johnny, I mean, to call the artist would be crazy, but I always really liked Johnny's work, Johnny's work, for as long as I could remember. Right? Especially when I started picking up Tekken and SoulCalibur stuff like that. I saw their work, and I just was like, "Good lord, I really like this stuff." Right? So the only thing with me is that as much as I try to paint, if you will, like that style with Joni and so many others use, so many artists are using these days, I'm too lazy to paint. I realize I always end up cel shading or some variation thereof, but never paint.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Would you
But
say
no, I really like that work.
would you say you have a preference in terms of like what you like to draw? Like, do you like to draw borderline realistic characters or kind of anime, kind of off the page, quite out there characters?
I'd say definitely the latter. Although I've been trying to move from the hard anime spectrum and try to get into the middle of things and try to balance out because at one point, yeah, everything was like hyper anime and hyper, you know, but as I delved into all kind of different art styles, you realize there has to be a balance. Excuse me, because a lot of the artists who I figured, hey, this guy does all this cartoony stuff, that's all he draws, right? And then you check the portfolio, and then you notice these individuals are very well grounded in things like still life. They've done a ton of studies, they've done a ton of light, practices and shading and all this other stuff. And it kind of pissed me off because I was like, oh, come on. So I have to do
It's like, do I have to go that
that?
extra mile?
Yeah, do I have to do this, right? But yeah, it's that's the only way you can actually, I feel. And you have artists on YouTube who debate this all the time. Do you have to do formal art school, or do you can just draw by you know just natural raw talent? But at the end of the day, I think you still have to actually use your surroundings and study those things and actually apply it to what you're drawing instead of always being, and coming from me, this may sound like I'm a total hypocrite right now because I haven't done any like studies or whatever. But at some point you learn differently in life, and so after seeing all that, I realized, yeah, I got to start to balance things out a bit. Uh, yeah,
Do you have any favorite art drawings or art designs of characters?
some of my favorite art designs. Let's see. At one point, I was a huge fan of Ashley Wood's work. From I think he did a visual novel for Metal Gear. And I saw his work, and I was like, "Yo, that's tight." And of course, the obligatory. Is it Yoji Shinkawa? Let me see something. I just want to make sure I got the name. Yeah, Yoji Shinkawa of Metal Gear fame. Always loved his work. But to say I have one specific favorite artist, I would sort of be lying there because I have so many different artists whose work I look at and say, yo, incredible, absolutely incredible. So yeah, to harken back to that creative energy thing, by the way, I think a lot of that can be seriously utilized when you could see work and stuff that's better than yours, or that's on that next level, and you could actually appreciate it and say, you know what, this is really good. Let me see. Let me now try to build to this. Let me try to get on this level, on that level, if you will, instead of looking at it and just getting bitter, like what I would do sometimes. Honestly, I would see work and be like, too good.
So like getting you on this podcast and you being from where you are, the Bahamas, I just wanted in respect to pay respects to the Bahamas FGC, and you said they kind of flourished in the last few years. Like looking from the outside, how do you view the fighting game community in general?
Fighting game. Okay, we talking like globally or in different like
Whatever you want,
U.S.,
globally or
Europe.
just in your own part.
Well, globally, I mean, unfortunately, we've all been forced into the dreaded online play.
Yeah.
But all jokes aside, I actually still really love the fighting game community because you know, political, but on that side, I just think it's really nice, for people to, competition to me is always nice. Competition is always good, and with so many fighting games now, getting to the spotlight, or rather, people now having access to so many fighting games, I think it's great. I think so. And outside in, the FGC actually played a huge role in my creative process and my music and whatnot getting out there. I mean, I'm on an FGC podcast right now, for goodness sake. So, right.
So like,
So
because I mean, you did briefly start in the fighting game community. What was that brief journey like for you?
it was interesting. It was interesting because just doing like the what was it? That Street Fighter 2 player select remix. That right there, when Maximilian used it, I mean, he used some stuff prior to that, but that, for some reason, that was the one song that really tipped the scales. People really got interested in the channel. And so, between that song and the various Tekken songs that were done, the FGC has been very, you know, pol- polite isn't the word, but it's been very nice to me, if you will, in terms of enjoying the tunes and the various streamers, like Low Tier God and a couple others, they would say, yo, I heard your music on this guy's stream. Or I heard your music on that guy's stream. And I'm like, oh, like really? Okay, that's excellent. So I would actually go find those streamers and tell them, thank you very much for using the music. I appreciate it. But so for what it's worth, I've had no issues uh, with the fighting game community on it. I know people in recent times, they've heard things
Yeah.
being, esports and all this other stuff. It's becoming more prevalent, and I try to tune that out because I know at the end of the day, you still have the grassroots community who, they're gonna trash talk and they're gonna have their fun and have a good time, playing Tekken or whatever. So yeah,
What's the one game that you do enjoy watching? Would it be Street
me,
Fighter? Would it be Tekken?
you said it, the latter. I enjoy Street Fighter. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy Street Fighter, but Tekken. Uh, I played Tekken. I got serious about Tekken probably what is it, 2020? In 2019, no, like 2018, I'm sorry. I got really serious. The end of 2018, I got really serious about Tekken. And so after really learning how it's very complex, but it's simple at the same time because like in any fighting game, if you underthink, you're dead. And if you overthink, you're dead. So Tekken, right?
Yeah.
Tekken to me, when you watch that, oh, I get Korean backdash, I could snake edge and I could taunt jet upper into whatever. And then you got people just, okay, that's nice, you can do all that, but can you break this throat? Right?
Layers,
Right?
eh?
Can you
Layers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like you could do all this fancy, I could do electrics, I could do all 5 electrics in one go or whatever. And then it's like, okay, fine, but can you see this low coming? No, you can't. Oh,
Yeah, I mean, we all love the fighting game community. Especially over here, there's a very distinct feel between, like, say, the Tekken community compared to the Street Fighter community.
Mhm.
Street Fighter
Of
community
course, of course.
are very, very family boisterous, loud. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. You're
we
right.
love
You're
pop
right.
offs as much as anyone. And I'd assume I mean, it's going to be the same throughout the world. But Street Fighter's always a
Yeah,
classic, and
definitely.
Tekken's always a classic as well.
Definitely, trust me, because yeah, you pretty much nailed it on the head. That it's Street Fighter always had that because it's the more widely known, or sorry, in a community standpoint, people gravitate towards Street Fighter more than they do Tekken. Even though Tekken, is definitely like super worldwide. But yeah, the crowds tend to, for some reason, always be the same, if you will. The Tekken crowd and the Street Fighter crowd tend to be the same, and whatever community you go in, honestly.
Mm. Well, who are you playing in Tekken, bro?
I'm sorry to admit, I was a Kazuya scrub.
Oh,
I was a Mishima.
you were a P2 trying to get
Yeah,
perfect
I'm so
electrics on
sorry.
everyone. Yeah. That's okay. Everyone is that player at the beginning. Like, we can't lie.
No, because I always was interested in Kazuya because I started playing some Tekken 5 on the PSP back in the day, like way back in the day. But I couldn't figure out the movement for the life of me. I was like, what the hell is going on? I'm pressing up and the guy isn't jumping. And then it's like, hey, come over here. It's a 3D fighter guy. You can sidestep. So, oh, okay. So, but I put it down for a bit, and then I came back. I tried Tekken 6, and once again, it didn't work out too good for me with Tekken 6. But Tekken 7, when I started playing Tekken 7, it's like everything clicked,
Yeah.
and so I had a really good time in Tekken 7. I don't play it as much anymore, admittedly. I don't play it nearly as much as I used to, but I may get back into it. But bro, looking at season, what is it, season 4
Oh,
right now?
season 3? Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Season 3 looking to be a season 4. I think they want to add some more characters. I'm looking at how bloated the roster's starting to get. Man, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
New
man. I
moves.
mean, my biggest issue with it is everything's homogenized.
Yes, yes.
Character, sorry, the damage, war combo potential. It almost seems like a lot of characters are on par. Um,
Uh-huh.
and of course, people are going to question the decisions because some characters are kind of left standing in the desert
Yep.
compared to others, and it's
In the
like
dead.
it's a lack of transparency and just knowing what
What's really going on? Yeah.
why these decisions are being made. Why does Zafina have a crazy backdash? Why do characters like Steve and Geese, even though they get slightly nerfed, they are still really difficult to deal with?
Really hard to deal with. And I guess because maybe the mindset, because you have people on both sides of this Tekken argument, but I think the mindset is like, if everyone's broken, then no one's broken. So,
Yeah,
so we just give you like 50 plus characters and have at it. But even though it's like you said, at high level, you really only see a certain few characters at high level in Tekken. You can play anyone, of course. People always say that, oh, Tekken's really balanced because you can play anyone. But as with any game, any fighting games included, there's this thing called the dominant strategy. I'm sure you're aware of it. So you pick a top tier
yeah.
and you just go from there. I mean, if you want to win the tournament, but for fun, yeah, you could pick anybody. Even if you want to pick Alyssa, I mean, shout out to Alyssa,
What do you
man.
think is what do you think is the better game to watch? Street Fighter 5 or Tekken 7 at this point?
For me, this is a tough one because I just watched the Street Fighter the other day and I was surprisingly hyped. But I like to watch Tekken. I like to watch Tekken a lot because when you realize the on top of the mind games, the movement and stuff that you need to really get the edge at a high level is crazy. Even though it looks like everybody's spazzing out on screen when they back dashing and forward dashing or whatever, but watching Tekken for me, especially now that I know more than I did a few years ago, is amazing, man. Like even to this point, when I watch some Tekken, it's like, holy smokes, that's amazing. Like, you know, it's pretty good. When even my wife was watching the other day, and she started asking questions about what was going on. And so, you know, I had to pretend like I was some, you know, fighting game guru. I was like, well, actually, that's a forward dash.
Oh wow. Oh man.
I was like, actually, that's down forward too.
That's a wife you want to keep, man. That's yeah.
Yeah, but
One that's
trust me,
curious.
yeah,
Man.
she was genuinely curious. So yeah.
So yeah, I guess we can probably comment. I mean, comment on kind of like the FGC happenings. There was the Dan character preview that they had for Street Fighter V and Kunimitsu reveal for Tekken 7. Do you have any personal or creative thoughts on these two characters?
I'll address the elephant in the room. Or I should say the kunaichi in the room. Kunimitsu, I personally feel I'm not complaining because I wasn't one of those who was begging for her to come back in the game.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna bring her back, just bring her back, right? When I saw the mask come off and I saw Kunimitsu's what's it, daughter? Spoilers, sorry. I was like, I think it would have been better if they just brought the actual Kunimitsu.
Yeah, they can have 40-plus-year-old men in Tekken, but not 40-plus-year-old women. Yeah, I know. Someone commented on it, and I'm like, Jesus, that's so true.
It's true, and I mean, you don't say it to complain because you're gonna have people on both sides of the argument. They're gonna say, "Hey, they brought Kunimitsu back. You guys are, you know, bitching about it," and then on the other side, they're gonna say, like me, I just thought like the look for the character is she's not a bad looking character, but I just feel there's a missed opportunity there to really just, you know, bring back an older Kunimitsu, probably with a more refined, you know, move set or something like that. I don't know. You know, I never played her, so I don't know much thing. But as for Dan, I'm now starting to wonder if we are actually ever going to get Street Fighter 6.
Yeah.
Because it looks as though they're going to take what Ono and his team had, you know, established and just continue to build on it. Because I mean, I guess if people are still buying Street Fighter 5, why make a Street Fighter 6 at this point? You know, same with Tekken 7 right now. This is the best. I think I wouldn't say both have been doing at this time. I think Tekken 7 is definitely doing better than Street Fighter 5 by numbers. But the interest in Street Fighter 5 is definitely growing because, ironically enough, they're adding a bunch of old characters back to the game.
Yeah, legacy characters,
So,
which is
you know, people, you know, what's the phrase? The more things change, the more they stay the same, right?
yeah.
So people say they want new characters in Street Fighter. They bring the new characters, and of course, everyone says, "So where are the old characters?" So, you know, but as for Dan, his gameplay and stuff was pretty interesting. You know, initially, it looks like he's gonna be quite a character to play. I don't know if he's gonna be. Actually, I can't even advise to where he may be on said tier list, but it looks interesting to say the least. I got to see how Oro and the rest of those look when they show up.
Yeah, I think we're at an interesting point because obviously we weren't expecting Season 5 for Street Fighter 5, and I think a lot of players weren't expecting a Season 4 for Tekken 7. I think we just assumed that both of their games had reached their lifespan. So it's good that we got caught with the unexpectedness.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that they must be. Dan's got to come off with a really good reveal. As for Kunimitsu, yeah, it's like, well, we're happy she's in the game, but I don't think she's like the prime focus. But you know, still welcome.
Yeah, it's still welcome. Don't get me wrong. It's just, I guess for me personally, it's just a touch underwhelming because here it is. Even you know, normally when a new character comes out, you know, people start drawing the fan art and doing this and doing that, and even on that front, it isn't as though people are definitely running to, hey, Kunimitsu. People are just like, okay, she sort of looks like a DOA 6 character, but what are you gonna do about it?
Yeah. Ignorant Rizzy, the American guy, streamer, he said that she looks like a Neo character. I kind of agreed with him there.
Yeah, Rizzy's pretty cool, man. Ignorant Rizzy's pretty good. But yeah, you're right. It's, you know, you take it as it is. I mean, everyone has critique on things, you know, myself included. So it doesn't take away from the fact that they added a new character and it looks as though they have some more to come. So we'll see how it goes.
So how do you see the future of fighting games? How do you see it, man?
The future of fighting games. Well, for one, I'd like a new Virtua Fighter.
Oh yeah,
but beyond that, with the games moving forward, I'm hoping that we don't get, how do you put it? You don't want it to become a system where you have one game. Let's say hypothetically, Tekken and Street Fighter come up with a new game, and then you end up they just drop the number. They just call it Tekken and Street Fighter, and now from that point, you have a game that's almost like a service, and they're just gonna be uploading new characters, almost like Madden,
yeah,
just adding new characters every 6 months. I'm hoping we don't get to that point. But moving forward, I definitely see there's a market for it. But I'm hoping that the companies, the different studios don't abandon it straight up because someone made a point to say that PS5 and Xbox, the new consoles that are coming out, there was no fighting game in sight.
yeah,
And I had to tell them, I said, well, give it a bit, give it a little bit, because people are straight up thinking that, the FGC is going to get abandoned moving forward. I'm like, nah, it's not that serious. But the niche titles and whatnot moving forward, you may not see as much, but that's just my opinion. Because everyone cries that they want to see a new, Project Justice and a new, these niche Japanese games. But when the companies invested on Darkstalkers is another one. Everyone's crying for a
yeah.
new Darkstalkers,
Darkstalkers.
but they release the games and nobody buys the games. So companies aren't here to appease your nostalgic appetite, if you will. They here to make money. So if you're not gonna buy the games, don't expect the games to get made. But hopefully, moving forward, I would hope to see at least one more Street Fighter and possibly a Tekken 8. And from that point, I guess the sky's the limit. We'll see where it goes.
Just to flip it back to you, where do you see your work in the future?
My work in the future, I may actually at some point move into the stock music market. Honestly, start making just generic sort of tunes that anyone can use in different games or you know screen set plays, whatever.
Yeah,
Different things that they can use in music for different moods, different atmospheres. I may look into getting into that market. Still doing the occasional remix, but I was thinking about it the other day, and I said, as time moves on, you probably want to try some different stuff. So I wouldn't just outright change Project R into that what I just described, but there may not be as many remixes, but we'll see how it goes.
yeah,
We'll see how it goes. But yeah, that's what I was thinking about recently. I thought about it and said it probably would be nice to have like a different series of tracks that people could, if they want to donate, they could if they wanted to. But I just have it there for download. That's normal because everything's free. What I make, I don't lock it out if you will. You can always download it. And yeah, just go with that model and see how it goes. But what's the word? I'm dragging on here. that's pretty much what I'm looking to do. Though.
Sweet. Hey, well, before we finish up, man, I've got my final round questions for you. So, you ready?
Yeah, man, let it rip.
Sweet. So, first one, what remix have you done that best fits your personality?
The remix that I've done the best fits my personality. You know what? Because I like it so much, I'm gonna go with Save Room, Resident Evil.
Ooh,
That Resident Evil Save Room.
nice. Gungrave or No More Heroes?
Why do you have to do this to me?
I'm sorry. I wanted to fit it in somewhere.
I love these phones. Oh, man. Okay, I have to go with No More Heroes. I have to go with No More Heroes.
Yeah.
Tough.
I'm sorry,
It's
man.
really tough.
All right. What's your favorite thing to order online?
Definitely sound equipment. Anything with sound equipment and peripherals like backpacks and stuff. Yeah, that's it.
Name a music artist or remixer whose work you really enjoy listening to.
Woo! Here we go. All right. I may have to cheat a bit for this question.
You sweet man.
An artist's work that I really enjoy, remixes work that I enjoy. I don't know if you know, but he's a good friend of mine, TJ Markram. He does some nice work.
TJ Markram.
But Yes. But you know what? For the sake of brevity, I'm gonna tell you I really enjoy. Dude, these are some great questions because you got me sweating over here.
Oh, I'm not. I'm not. I told you. I like.
I know,
I
I
like to
know.
keep it spicy. You know, it's like ask something
Right.
related to you, and then just a random one, just to
No, this is
yeah.
really good. Yeah, remixer wise, at least it's because everyone's going through my head right now. I'm like, oh, God. But yeah, I like DJ Malcolm's work. He's a good friend of mine, and he does good work. But in terms of, I'll just have to cheat here. I love Japanese composers. I love their music, and because there's so many of them, I just have to stick with most Japanese composers, and I'll have to leave that one there.
Yeah. No, that's sweet, man. Hey, you're good. All right. If you were teaching someone Remix 101, name the song you'd
Mhm.
get them to remix and why.
The song I get them to remix. I would tell them to remix. Tell you something right now. Does it have to be a specific song or a song with a certain nature to it? Oh, that's for me
Yeah,
to
I'll leave that
decide.
up to you. So, like, yeah, if someone, if you wanted to educate someone in remixing, teach them, guide them through that
Okay,
path, what song would you say to them? Okay, you use this track.
definitely, I'd probably give them something with a probably iconic melody or something that they could build on. Either something from Zelda or one of Mario tunes, either any NES Mario or perhaps Super Mario World. You know, something like with a simple, distinct melody that they could build on and go from there. Because everyone has their own style, of course. But yeah, there's certain things that you have to apply regardless. And so either, even though there's a million remixes of it, I'd say go World 1 Mario, or even what's the next one? Super Mario World. Uh, yeah, I guess the first world in Super Mario World too. Just let them experiment with that because even though it might vary from person to person, I wouldn't want to just say give them a song with a very ambiguous sort of feel to it. Like I'd use the DOA soundtrack for example. Not very many melodies in that. There's a lot of ambient stuff.
Yeah.
It's really difficult to remix that. So you want to give someone something that they could cling to and build on. So anything with a distinct melody, you just go from there, and then you can just build. Now, if they want to sample, that's another story. But we'll leave that there.
Okay. Sweet, bro. Rank these game soundtracks from first to third. Killer Instinct, Mortal Kombat 11, and SoulCalibur 6.
All right, let's go. From first to third, okay, Killer Instinct surprisingly gets my number one. I know that's probably a shock. Soul Calibur number two, and Mortal Kombat gets third place for me.
Oh, nice. Nice
Yeah,
one.
Killer Instinct has some crazy music.
Has the YouTube copyright system ever frustrated you when uploading remixes?
It has before, because it's people were just randomly trying to take down remixes at one point. I don't know what was going on with that, but it was not to the point where anything had to come down. So while it frustrated me, it didn't cause me to have to take anything down. I just had to turn off monetization for a few videos. But yeah, I guess it has frustrated me, but not to any major extent.
Okay. Sweet. What's your favorite one-liner from a film or TV series?
Favorite one line. Let's see. What if I should? You know what? Let's go with something extremely cliche. I'm gonna go with Kenshiro's "You're Already Dead." I believe
Oh, aye, nice one, bro.
we'll just go with that one.
You already did.
You are already dead.
What's the best compliment you've received about your work?
The best compliment I've probably received about my work is someone told me it actually saved them from taking their own life. So that was actually a pretty heavy. It was heavy, but it was one of those things that really told me to do it. keep going. Don't stop. Because I was at a point where I was basically about to stop doing the work too. I had a few points like that, but long story short, when someone told me it actually stopped them from taking their life, I said, okay, all right, time to keep this up.
Oh man,
So yeah,
that's wonderful, man. That's so good.
yeah, that was huge for me, seriously.
And finally, who's your waifu, Ruku?
Waifu, real waifu or anime waifu?
Whoever you want, mate. You know, it could be your wife, or it could be, I don't know. Just, you know, you choose.
That's too easy. I mean, even though real waifu exists, anime waifu, because she's aware of all this stuff too. Honestly, we have a good time sharing stuff like this with each other. But it's been forever since I watched the recent anime. But for the sake of brevity, I got to reference Fist of North Star again. Mamiya, loved her. Even though she was Ray's girlfriend, but Mamiya from Fist of North Star. That's my
Wow,
waifu.
nice choice, man. I think that's a first for us.
Retro.
Hey, Ruku, thank you so much, man, for your time and all your stories. No, really,
Thank you,
it's been a real honor. Do you have any last words or shout outs you want to make, bro?
Just shout outs to you. Shout outs to Soul Shakers. I'm gonna definitely do my best to get you guys out there so you can get more guests on here and hopefully get even more exposure, man. Because it's just really nice to talk to you and it's very comfortable with me. So I appreciate that you having me here. But just shout outs to everyone who's creating, everyone who's sharing stuff. Don't get caught up in popularity. Just do what you love, do what you enjoy, share it, and see where it goes from there. Just put your best foot forward. That's the key advice there. Just put your best foot forward.